Well, where to start this morning? Thought I'd give you an overview of what I've done with the gazebo. It's a little bit wrinkled, but when I'd lean over to screw the metal on, it was flexing those aluminum ribs. Of course, it'll be watertight and sun tight for my purposes, and it don't look all that bad. But I had to make as few cuts as possible because of my hands not being able to hold out very long. But anywho, there's the frame up at the top. And of course I leave this open right here, this 5-foot opening. I'll leave this open until I get the roof on it. And the way I made my circle come out right, that orange pin there was my pivot point, and I put a piece of baling twine on another one and went around and scratched a circle, which you can see the scratch there in the ground. It makes a circle around. And I thought, well, I'll leave a 5-foot opening in the middle here. And then once I put the top on it, then I can make adjustments to it, leaning it in or out. I think it's going to work okay. But I've got a disc right here. This disc will go on top, and I'll crimp the edges in about an inch and turn them down. That'll help stop blowing rain from coming in. And I think the way I'm going to attach it is just to cut 2 2x4s to fit in that thing in the top. That way it'll give about an inch, well, it'll give a 2-inch gap all the way around for smoke to get out. And that way I can mount them in there and go ahead and screw them down to the 2x4s, take that off, and then wait until I get it up on the rack up here, and then set it back on there and screw it to the aluminum framework from underneath, and that'll hold it. If I ever need to take it loose, just unscrew it from the inside and flip it off and do what I need to do, and then put it back on. And of course, this big rock is either going to go right there or right there against those posts, and then I'll bring in my stone bench and put it somewhere on the perimeter. Then I'll put a fire pit in the middle and get some more big rocks to sit around, and these holes in these fence posts, I'm going to take white plastic pipe and run it around and loop it around and leave this as the entrance over here, this fire pit space. I'll do that all the way around and put another one up here and give it a sort of a sense of a little corral. And then of course I can put some little uprights out of any kind of material that would be appropriate, just to give it a little semi-privacy but still be able to see everything right. This is going to be my picking shed, I'm sure. Did I hear somebody barking at my puppies? They were up here. But it was great to have Ruff come up and lick my hand, and then he let me scratch him under the chin for a couple of minutes. But I'll put more on when I set the roof up there, and that's going to be a chore because me, myself, and I, the three of us, are going to put the roof on. But I've got a little equipment that can give me some help. I don't think the camera angle's right on that. Let's jack it up. There you go. Oh, well, it's old and crackadated here under my gazebo made out of the satellite dish. I was going to film the putting up of the roof and everything, and the finishing up of the metal, but I'm just not physically able to do the camera and be able to do the other work. I have to take so many breaks. But I've got the thing up, and I've got a nice rock bench right here. I got another one right there, and I've got some rocks up there to make some more rock benches. I think I'm going to bring my cast iron stove and put it right in here and let the pipe go up and attach it to the roof up there, and then in the center I'll put my little limestone rock or my sandstone rock right here for the using the twig stoves and things like that, and use this as my outdoor base for filming. Of course, I'll still be using the area over there beside the gazebo tent and on the other side and in the center of the my own personal roundabout, which I need to do a hammock camp in the little roundabout I've got there. And of course I've got vehicles parked around the roundabout, so it's an official roundabout. Let me take the thing off the mount and I'll show you the gazebo. Okay, there's my gazebo. And of course the roof didn't turn out real smooth because the frame being aluminum and me having to stand on it with my foot while I screwed in the panels around the top, it flexed in and put some wrinkles in the sheet metal that I already had on, plus wrinkles in that, but they won't be as visible after the the metal gets dull. It's real shiny right now. Well, that's into the sun, so how about if I go inside? And there's the vent hole in the top. I've still got my strap up there, but I used a V of 2x4s that I could strap down. That way I can unhook it at any time and pull that top off, because I've got to add shroud around the outside of it, which is going to take a while for me to cut. But it's not perfect, but it is dry. Where those wrinkles are there, I can insert some little flat slats and push those up even. I've already done that with my hand, so I know it'll flex up. But anywho, okay, now on the ground. And today I've got to clean the mud off my rocks. I've got to clean that off. I want to try to leave that moss on the bottom of that. Adds a little character to those rocks. Oh, I've got stuff stacked all over here. But anyway, I cleaned the mud off of that. That was a stone bench down in the woods. My wife and I used to go down there and sit on that. Of course, I've got a pile of rocks over here that'll be a standalone seat right there, and then I'll stack a rock or two for this one right here and make a seat, and then that right there make a little wide bench. I'll stack 2 rocks underneath it, make a little wide bench. But I've got tons and tons of stones down in the of course I've got to spend today cleaning up the area. I've got scraps of metal and cardboard everywhere. Got to put my sheet metal away, and that's not looking bad. I've got to put me a 5/4 by 6 plank across the front of there, and I'm thinking about maybe for bracing purposes, corner braces in these corners to stabilize it. But that's my gazebo, and of course my cast iron stove is going to go right here in between where the base of that ladder is, and come on out, because there's the line right here of the shed, or approximately where it is. It's out a little further than that. But anyway, it's turned out to be a pretty good little shelter, and when I get it all dressed up, it's going to look pretty good. I'll be doing a lot of videos out here. Well, old and crackadated, I'll go on to the next segment. Okay, I'm going to explain to you how I lifted that top up. Now I've got my ladder set up where I had them, but I took 2x8s. I think they were 12 or 16 footers, I don't remember which, but anyway, I started on the bottom rung. Of course, I had the satellite sitting on the ground here. Started on the bottom rung, and I put 2x8 here over to that ladder. Put a 2x8 here over to that ladder, one from there to there. Then, but I had them on the ground, and I picked them up with the satellite dish sitting on top of it, set it on this, went over to this corner, picked it up, set it on there, did the same thing over here, set it up on the first rung, and then I walked it rung at a time up to this rung right here. Then I had it up at a high, so that was a good start. Then I took this strap and I hooked it over the top rim. That's a heavy metal rim around that thing where the dish was mounted when it was used as a satellite dish. Then I took a chain hoist, a 1 ton, and I hooked it there. And I used this right here, put this pole through here, tied a rope around it, put it on the hook to the come along, threw the come along over the top, down to the satellite dish, did the same with the strap, and I started winching up on the come along, and then adjusting the movement of it out there on the 2x8s so I didn't mess it up. And I just kept on winching up until it finally cleared the top. Once it cleared the top, then I started by getting up on the 2x8s and just picking it up and working it from side to side and sliding it across. And kept adjusting it till I had it about where I wanted it. Then I used metal straps to strap it down with. I still got to put more straps on it because I get some heavy winds here and I don't want it to blow away. I put a strap on the inside, another one on the outside of there, another one over there. But that's the way I did it. Old and crackadated can move some pretty heavy stuff with very little effort. But now, these stones right here, you ain't gonna pick one up. You ain't even gonna pick up the side of it. So what I did, I got my little terramite, ran the front bucket up under the edge of it, tilted the bucket up to where it lifted up off the ground, and I've got a steel pole there that I used to wedge it into the bucket, and then tilted the bucket back and did the same with this. I put a strap around the middle of it. When I started dumping it out of the bucket, I dumped the corner here on this rock, put a strap around the middle of it over the bucket. Then I could tilt it up and swing the rock around any way I wanted to, because it ain't gonna budge. Just like that, it ain't gonna budge. It's where it's gonna be unless you get that iron pole to wedge it about a 1/2 inch at a time. But this is my nice little bench. Makes a nice seat. And that one. And I've got my rock moved over here. That's my sitting rock because my stove is going to go right here. And that'll be where I'll sit to cook. Then I'm going to put a stone bench, a couple of rocks and benches right here. Get it back on the evening shady side. That one right there I can sit on my back with the sun and not have to look into it. But I'm going to get my banjo out here. Pick a little. See you later. Real old and crackadated here today, and I'll show you a few things here before I do a little banjo playing. That right there is a flag and a certificate. This flag was flown in my honor over Bagram Air Base in Afghanistan for a day. And then up here, we've got some barbed wire from the demilitarized zone on the Korean borders. And then an award as Member of the Year of my bass club. And of course a few pictures of John Wayne. And that knife, I bought at an auction after my wife died, because she couldn't bid a $50 anymore. It had to be $1. So the first auction I went to, I bid $1 when they put that knife up. And nobody else would bid on it because they knew what I was doing. That was in honor of my wife, old $50 who had to change to $1. And my cow clock. Okay, now let's come on down. And there's my I don't care what time it is, I'm late anyway clock. And this is where I'm going to be doing a little picking here in a few minutes. I'm going to assume that that camera is working. Hope so. We're going to see if I've made any improvement. I'm ready to give up. I was doing so good, and then all of a sudden I get trembles and I can't do anything. My muscles are just Oh, well, at least I can show you the world's cutest dog. Come here. Come here, Ruthie. Get up out of your hole in the ground there. Look at this little critter. Ain't she so cute? Yeah, she's a sweetie pie. Just cute as she can be. There's my little darling. Say hello, Ruthie baby. This is my constant companion while I'm sitting here in my office. I've got all my paperwork here. Got my camera case, and of course I've got different boxes that I've gotten stuff in, and this is the box for my power supply. But I thought I was going to be okay, but then all of a sudden this shoulder starts twitching, and I'm good for 5 minutes, and then 5 minutes later my muscles just twitching like crazy. And I was sitting here picking the banjo pretty good, and I thought, okay, I'll turn the camera on, and then of course just that little bit of strain of picking up the banjo and getting up and turning on the camera, that was enough to trigger the tremors. When I sat back down, I could tell, uh-oh, this ain't gonna be good. But I'm still working to overcome it. I thought maybe by sitting here on the couch, this is where I live. I sleep here. I do all my business here, ordering, and then I go up to my studio and do my stuff up there. But this is basically where I live. I've got my TV over there, and I've got my little Gizmo. Come here, little Gizmo. Here's Gizmo, the world's most cantankerous little cat. The only time he's still is when he's sleeping, constantly walking and climbing over everything. But this is him a year after the first time I showed him, I think. But he's a mess. Well, enough of this. My trembles have started, so I'm not going to be able to do any more music. I'm going to go outside and shoot a little at the gazebo. I've made some progress on it, got some rocks in place, and it's looking pretty good. Of course, I had to video my awards and things I've got on the wall. Well, old and crackadated out under the gazebo. I thought what I'd do is try making some coffee in this. I poured a little water over the grounds, which I should have poured it all the way to fill the cup. Wetting down the grounds real good, and then when that water starts steaming, it will steam that coffee and be like a drippolator. It'll drip down into the bottom. Yep, that's working so far. Don't know how long it's going to take. Turn the heat down. It's got it steaming pretty good. But if it's steaming up in there, that coffee, what I did, I put a paper towel in, because it'd take a coarse grind to keep the coffee from falling through. Or you could put a screen wire in there, like a strainer. And that would hold the coffee grounds. But with that steam coming up, it'll saturate those coffee grounds, and when that water drips back into the bottom, it'll make coffee. The old drippolator, for instance, they used to have a coffee pot that actually had a drippolator in the top of it. one was the steam rose up and would collect on the top of the pot and drip back down and go through the coffee. Real old method, but it worked for them on an old wood stove. That way they could set the pot on there and walk away and leave it and come back an hour later and they'd have coffee. It wasn't fast, but it did work. A lot of times they had other things to do, like cooking the meal and everything, and chores to do before breakfast, so they could throw that on the stove and it would sit there, and that steam coming up in there, then that steam would get in the coffee grounds and drip back through. Then there was the method of taking an old sock, coffee in it, throwing it in, tying it in and throwing it in the pot and boiling it. It works better if you use a clean sock. I imagine I'm getting some wind on that microphone today. It's pretty windy out here. But while that's heating, I'll cut the camera off and get out the banjo. I'm going to try again. I had total failure in the house a while ago. Well, I forgot to turn the camera on when I went to do my pour up. But what I did, I let it steam a little while. It was starting to get a little stained. So then I poured a cup. Then I poured it back over top of the grounds and let it steam a little bit longer. Then I poured another cup, what I had poured back in there, and when it came out, it's coffee. So yeah, it can work. Coffee grounds, a little piece of paper towel for a filter, and it did okay. Just poured through twice. Once that water got good and hot, I poured it in the cup and then poured it back over it, and let it sit there and steam for a while, and then poured the cup again and then poured it back through, and that's what I got. Let's see how it tastes. Oh, it tastes just like coffee. Had to make sure I was recording. Oh, the red light blinking, so. Yeah, this works pretty good for a coffee pot. And you can do a pour through. Get the water hot, pour it in your cup, and pour it back through. Do it one more time, pour it back through, and I just used one of those little bitty plastic dippers that used to come in the coffee. They don't put them in there anymore. But that's my perfect measuring cup. I want to make a pot with about 6 to 7 cups. I put 3 scoops of that in there, and I figured 1 scoop would probably brew up a pretty good cup of coffee. Not real strong, but I don't need to be drinking real strong coffee as much as I drink. Because I do my pot of coffee in the morning and pot at night. Have all my life. But my rocks work out real good. I've got a bench there that 2 people can sit on. I've got a bench there and a bench there. And I got that big stone over there. And I've got my stove set up. Let me swing around to that and show it to you. Well, I don't know how good that's showing because of the... Ooh, that coffee's hot. It would be right in the shadow. But if I zoom in, it might overcome that. There's my stove set up. And let me get a shot of it from off away from it. I like this camera mount pretty well. There's my smokestack. I got a turn in it there and there, coming down to the stove. And the stove is underneath the shed. And I've got the hood turned in the wrong direction. When I was putting it together, it was right, but then when I connected it up to the other pipe, it didn't work out right. So I've got to take those two screws out and just turn it 90 degrees and it'll work out. There's my sitting rock beside the stove, then I got a bench there and a rock to sit on there, and my double bench there, and my double bench over there behind my chair, which I've got the banjo laying on. Yep. I'm gonna sit down. Well, another YouTuber had a dog get hold of his hat, and one got hold of my hat, chewed it there and chewed the side band on it. It laid out in the rain all night because I couldn't find it. Next morning, the dog drug it back up here and chewing on it. The dogs must have talked to his dogs on the phone. I shouldn't leave the phone laying around where they'd get to it. And they said they should sign. His dog told my dogs they should sign my hat. That was hard. Wish I had my good banjo out here. Shucks. When I can finally get over the tremble and start working a little bit. But I'm still determined to conquer it and get. I guess when I play the music, I'm going to have to make sure I don't pick up anything heavy and stimulate those muscles too much that get them all twitching. Like I did a while ago in the house. I picked up the banjo, and that strain of getting up with it in my hands and then sitting back down, it had already started the muscle tremors. I tried to work it out. It almost quit, but then it started up again. I had a little thing I was going to tell you, but I can't remember what it was, man. I'll rip it off and sit down and think about it in a few minutes and enjoy my cup of coffee. It's good. Oh, well, I'm up here in the studio. I thought I'd upload a video. I didn't put any kind of a closing on this video like I needed to. But had a couple of rough days, but I did get my gazebo mostly done, and you'll see the rocks and stuff in the first part of the video there and other parts of it. I felt so bad about my banjo playing getting so horrible there in my den. My heart sank. It took me a while to recover and then go outside to film a little more, but it's such a struggle that I miss being able to play so much. It's just a big void in my life that I don't know how to fill. But I'm still going to keep working on it and try to do better. And I've got to get a regular exercise routine to get my muscles strengthened back up without straining them too much. I finally got my exercise machine cleared away because I had so many guitars and stuff stacked against it. I couldn't use it. So now I've got that cleared away where I can use part of it now, and it's helped me regain a little in my. I've got a broken down vertebra in my spine, and Doctors say I'll never know if I'm having a heart attack because of the vertebra that pinches. It sends the pain around through the arm and the chest around to the heart, and it feels like a heart attack. But it also affects the right arm too. And some nights it's hurt so bad I can't even sleep. But that's part of getting old and getting injured at an early age of 21. That vertebra that's broken down, I've got two of them, one up at the neck and one mid-back and one in the lower back. And that was due to that heavy gear I carried in Vietnam. The rucksack didn't fit me, so it put an extreme amount of stress on my spine. But I just have to work through it and do the best I can. But I hope you liked the video about my gazebo and how I got the top up on it. But if you're watching and made it all the way through the video, do that thumbs up thing and subscribe. I sure would appreciate it. And I'm going to keep trying to do better on the videos. Still working on that editing program. And I think I didn't know all the time that my GoPro thing was paid up for a year. Now I've got it paid for another year, so I can use the GoPro and the editing program with it, which works out pretty good. If you could ever get a GoPro to go through a full video without overheating. But Old and Crackadated is fixing to upload a video. See you on YouTube.